everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, maybe good morning, depending on where you're joining us from in the world today. My name is Meg Alexander. I am incredibly excited to be hosting another fabulous Power to Fly Chat and Learn event. I'm really excited to dive in here, so let's get started. We have a couple quick housekeeping items for y'all today. These are especially important if maybe you haven't been to a Power to Fly event before, in which case, hi, welcome, we're so happy to meet you. Or maybe you just haven't been on an event with us in a while, in which case, welcome back. So one thing that you need to know is that these events are all about you. They're about our audience members, and we want to make sure that you all have as much opportunity to participate as you would like. So you can do this in a couple different ways. You are always welcome to turn your cameras on if you would like to share your smiling, maskless faces with us safely. But seriously, y'all, no pressure to be Instagram perfect. And I mean that. Like, we don't care if you're coming from your living room couch or corner office. You could be in your bathrobe or a three-piece suit. I do not care. We are just excited that you are taking time out of your day to do something positive for yourself. So pat yourself on the back. But we are also just happy to have you here with us. So thank you. And please know that we just want to meet you where you are. Now, if you have any kind of privacy concerns or anything, totally understood. Just know that as long as you stay muted during today's event, you will not show up on the live stream or the recording of today's session. Now, if you want to participate without your cameras, that is also highly encouraged. So feel free. I'm going to show something. Here we go. I'm going to go into the group chat here. Please feel free to keep that chat hopping, y'all. I want to know, if you want to start participating right away, get to it. I want to know where y'all are joining us from. I am coming to you from Toledo, Ohio. This is land that was indigenously cared for by the Fox and Kickapoo tribes in my area. So if you know whose land you're on, or if you just want to let us know where you're coming into us today, I would love to see how far our global audience spreads. Ooh, Florida, Wisconsin. Okay, so we're going north to south here for at least the US. Please feel free, I'll chime in there. Now, like I said, you can write in the chat. You are always encouraged to ask questions or add comments. Let us know what you're thinking about what our audience or what our speakers are saying. Do you have different lived experiences? We want to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment that you'd like me to raise and keep you anonymous, not a problem. Just DM your question or comment to me. You can find my name, Meg Alexander, in the drop-down menu on the Zoom chat feature. Now, like I said earlier, we are recording today's session as well as live streaming it to our YouTube channel as well as our website. Now, what that means for you is that you get to kick back and relax. You don't have to take notes. You don't have to worry if you missed a reference that someone shared or a resource or a link. You can always go back and check out the recordings when they're posted on our website as well as our YouTube channel. Now, one thing to know is that as you're sitting back, kicking back, soaking up all of this amazing information, just know that everybody that registered for today's session is going to get an email in about 1 to 2 business days, and it's going to have a link to where you can rewatch this recording on our website. If our panelists today say something just so unbelievably mind-blowing, you can't wait to share it with a coworker or a friend or a relative, you don't have to wait 1 to 2 business days. You can head over to our YouTube channel. The link is usually the video is usually posted there within about 5 to 15 minutes of the end of the live stream. And you can check out a huge segment of our archives from all of our chat and learns on our YouTube channel. Now, obviously, I also recommend you check out the website. That is where our full archive lives. All of the events, everything that has happened from when Lauren Haggerty did the first chat and learn till now, everything is there. So please feel free to take advantage of all of these great free resources that we want to make available to as many people as possible. Now, in case y'all have questions about this, one thing I want to highlight is that the free resources we have, they are free for everyone, and we want to get them into the hands of as many people as possible. This is how we feel we're going to meet our goal and meet our metrics and meet our mission of true gender parity in the workforce, true pay equity, diversity, representation, and inclusion that really shows the full experience of humanity. We want to see these things happen, and I think y'all do too. So if you want this as badly as we do, you can help us in this by taking photos or video as we go, share it out to your social networks, let people know about the resources Power to Fly has that are free to them. You are welcome to use our hashtag Power to Fly. You are also welcome to tag us anywhere you'd like. We are at Power to Fly on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So please feel free to share where you would like. We would love to reshare, retweet, repost, whatever y'all send us, and whatever y'all tag us in. So thank you so much for that. All right, I'm really excited to introduce you to today's speakers. So first up, we have Robin Pervin. Now, Robin is the partnership manager at the Turing School of Software and Design. Now, Robin's background includes connecting folks to resources, career readiness, STEM programming, as well as a partnership with the Turing School for the last 3.5 years. Robin's job is to make hiring from the Turing School community as easy as possible. Robin, welcome to the stage. We're so happy to have you. Is there anything else that you want our audience to know about you before we go into questions today?
I think I added a typo in there. I'm partnership manager. Was supposed to be in there. And it was very nice to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for that. All right, so joining Robin is going to be one of her coworkers, Evan Harris. Now, Evan is the CTO at Term Scout with a decade of experience in machine learning, data science, and software development. Evan's career has spanned multiple startup stages and industries with a recent focus on leadership and early stage startup strategy. Evan, what should our audience know about you? Is there anything else that you'd like to share with them before we go into questions?
Nothing else to share other than that I'm excited to be here, and I've worked with Robin quite a bit and hired a number of Turing grads, and it's been really great.
Excellent. Thank you for that. All right, now rounding out our trio today, we have Mallory Hines. Mallory is a talent acquisition manager at Credera, which is a consulting firm focused on data technologies, transformation, and strategy. Now, Mallory currently recruits for software engineering, cloud engineering, and security and privacy. Her recruiting and HR experience began in 2014, and she spent the last 3 to 4 years focusing on tech recruiting. Mallory graduated from the University of Iowa with degrees in finance and management and is currently pursuing her MBA through Iowa as well. Welcome to the stage, Mallory. We're so happy to have you. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience today?
Nothing else to share. I'll just echo what everyone said. I'm happy to be here, and similar to Evan, I've worked with Robin on recruitment for Credera and really enjoy working with the Turing grads.
Excellent. All right. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We're going to dive on into questions. Let me highlight our panelists here so we can get everybody brought up to speed. Just to let y'all know, I was taking a look at the other people that were chiming in the video, or sorry, chiming in the chat here. So we've got everywhere from California to New York, Colorado. The Sierra Nevada foothills of California, land of the Miwok. Thank you, Susan, for sharing that with us. All right, so my first question, hold on, I just lost my spot. So my first question here is going to go, there we go. My first question is going to go to Robin. So in the world of work from home techies, how do you get to mentoring? How do you make sure that you have the mentoring experience right for new grads within the tech sphere?
So Turing School does a good job of prepping students for that work from home mentorship model. We are a completely remote school, and they are getting mentorship from alumni and as well as partner organizations while they're in school with us. So they're very used to that setup. And additionally, we help companies by providing some mentorship after students get hired. So not all tech schools do this, but we definitely do and try to make it intentional. So if a company's having issues, they don't have the bandwidth to provide that mentorship, we can do it on our end using our instructors and people from our alumni community to help. And Evan has done this personally, so I'm going to kick it over to him.
All right, yeah, my relationship with mentoring new grads, especially in the work from home world, is, after I've hired those grads onto my team. And to me, the key to this is really revolves around, as a manager or, the individual who has hired new grads, regular one-on-ones and just constant open communication with that individual. You kind of in the work from home world miss out on everyone's in the room together and right next to each other, lots of taps on the shoulder and ad hoc conversations, you miss out on a lot of that. And it's really important when bringing on new grads, not to leave them, out in the cold without a meeting on their calendar for days on end, wondering who to talk to. And, as a manager, you can do that with, again, constant scheduled one-on-one conversations with a lot of structure and prompting for the new grad to come in and really prompt them to tell you what's going well, what's not going well, what do I need help with. And the other thing is what I'll probably you'll probably hear me say a lot more today, is around pairing new grads up with senior software engineers on your team. There's a great kind of symbiotic relationship where senior software engineers are excited about mentoring new grads, and new grads love that mentorship in a little, sometimes more casual relationship with a peer than with, their direct boss. So that's all I've got.
I like that. And actually, quick question before we let Mallory chime in here as well. Do you find that especially helpful for the new grads? Because I know when I first started, I didn't know what questions to ask. I didn't know to ask like, well, how am I coming across? And am I being successful in this area? Or are you getting the full breadth of my experience here? So I love that this is not only kind of a launching pad for those new grads, but that you're not just sending them out there blind. You're like, hey, let's lead you a little bit here and kind of, monkey see, monkey do this a bit.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of what I've found successful is you can say in kind of in your onboarding day or onboarding week, like my door's open, bring anything to me that you want to talk about, but that can be too broad and can be challenging to know, well, like, what does that actually mean? And what does it include?
Am I actually supposed to do this? Or is this just something people say it could be nice in the office?
Yeah, totally. And so one thing I do in one-on-ones with new grads that I hire is like, even templated, prompts for every one-on-one, like what went well this week, what didn't go well this week, what am I struggling with, and those prompts are almost like permission structures, especially if you're feeling unsure, can I bring this, to my manager? Those prompts really help make it clear that, of course, this is the exact we should be talking about.
Yeah. All right. Mallory, did you have anything else you wanted to add here?
Yeah, I actually think Credera does this pretty well, just because, so for us, we're a consulting firm, so we're you work with a project team, you'll be very focused on one project at a time. So you have your project leader or director that you report to at that time. And of course, we'll work really closely with and go to them with any questions you have. But we also give everyone a formal career coach, which is pretty interesting. And actually, instead of the normal, 6-month and then end of year performance review cycle, we do it monthly. So every month you have a one-on-one with your career coach to talk about exactly what you all were saying. What's going well, what's not going so well, what am I excited about, what am I not so excited about? And so those one-on-ones, they're always on the calendar and they're there for, people to support you. So you have two pretty formal relationships that way.
I love this. I love that it's much more of a planned step in your journey, as opposed to like, okay, we're done. Bye. Good luck. Have fun. Don't forget to give us money when we call you.
See you in another 6 months for your performance review.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about new grads. How can new grads be supported within an organization to retain them? You want people that have up to the minute bleeding edge, education and have just come out and are ready to start. But what are some of the ways that those new grads need to be supported so that you have that retention numbers that you want to see? Mallory, you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah, I can just touch on it. I'm guessing Evan and Robin might have better answers, but so we do for new grads, we do our tech core program is what we call it, and so the first couple months is pretty intensive. It's pretty hands-on, although we always say we're not going to necessarily teach you a certain coding language, but we'll teach you maybe why you're going to use it or how you would use it with a client. So you might not be, again, learning how to code necessarily, but you're going to learn the theory behind it and things. And then it really spans for the first 18 months of your time at Credera, and then it's going to be a consistent touch base and get together with the same close-knit group, because yeah, kind of like we were talking about in the work from home atmosphere, it's nice to have like a little community, and so that's kind of why we established it. So you have a little community to continually go through for your first basically full year and a half.
That is so great. And I'm sure that's incredibly valuable, not only to the new grads themselves, but, incredible to teach orgs, because, you're not going to be the last class of like freshers that comes through there. So I think that is absolutely wonderful. Okay. So I want to kind of turn us in a new direction here. And I want to talk about some of the training programs that you recommend to support this successful strategy here. Let's see, let's talk to Evan first. When it comes to like onboarding those new grads, what kind of training programs are there to help manage and support this succession?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that. At Term Scout, where we've hired a number of new grads from Turing and support, have engineers on our team at all levels of seniority. The way we think about new grads is pretty similar to how we think about any other software engineer on our team. We do, a 30, 60, 90-day onboarding plan, and some of the keys to making that successful, especially for new grads, are in that first 30 days. When thinking about, really the way I think about the first 30 days is getting new grads really close to the code and really celebrating success in a lot of different milestones. Like, first commit to the code base. Awesome. Like, this was probably your first, act of professional software engineering, committing code to the code base. That's really exciting. And where a senior engineer might say, yeah, whatever, I committed a trivial change. For that new grad, it's like a really exciting moment, celebrating that success and, listing things like that on the 30-day plan. Commit some code. It could be anything. It could be a small bug fix. It could be adding some comments or documentation. Other milestones are things like maybe finding a bug or proposing a tweak or something like that to the product team that you might want to work on. And so you can kind of construct those milestones ahead of time, before you put an onboarding program like this into practice, and really work with the new grad on tailoring this program to like what they're excited about, what they, they may have just gone through a program where they've learned all these things, they've learned different languages, different best practices, and they want to utilize them and put them into practice. So you can ask them like, what's the, what are you most excited about? What aspect of programming do you want to try as a professional software engineer? Going through that program gives kind of a tailored way to then, after 90 days, you say kind of, yes, we did it. We made it to that 90-day point. You kind of can feel like we've really completed an onboarding program that we built together really in real time, as a manager and the new grad simultaneously. And then, from there, really, I work at an early stage startup, and we're pretty fast moving without a ton of like large programs and structure. For us, after 90 days, we were kind of like, well, now you're in the mix, like any other developer on the team. And from there, it's more about just ongoing support from both, direct management and your peers.
Yeah. Oh, I think this is absolutely an amazing way to be supporting these people. Okay, let's talk about, let's see, Mallory, did you want to chime in here, or Robin, about that, how that level up and that, that kind of onboarding ramp works? Is there anything else you'd like to add here?
I would just add that bringing on juniors also helps level up your mid and senior folks, because they get mentoring experience, they get training experience, they get management experience. Even if it's peripheral, they're seeing what it's like to have somebody who's less experienced under them. And not only do we need more senior devs in the world, because we always have a shortage, but we need more mids as well. So you can level up your juniors to mids by providing them that opportunity to kind of help onboard somebody who's the step below them.
I love that. And I think it's a really beneficial point of mentorship. formal or informal that happens is that, the mentee is not the only person learning, right? You are teaching your mentor, even if what you're teaching them is how to be a better mentor. So I think that is really, really important to emphasize that, the learning from is not one directional, right? It's always a two-way street. So I think that is absolutely wonderful to show not only how the program, like how these support structures benefit the new grads and the new employees, but also how they benefit the existing employees and the health and the culture of the org as well. I love that. Mallory, how about you? Do you have anything else that you want to talk about when it comes to onboarding new grads for training and mentorship?
I don't know if I have anything else to add. I just love what Robin just said, just around having, the right mix of people, because it just benefits everyone, and we're trying to grow our leaders too. So just having a good mix of, new grads, mids, seniors, it's only going to benefit everyone. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this. And I think that's also one of the things that's important and interesting to talk about is like with so many people, we had like the great resignation or whatever. There's so many people that are looking to get into tech that freshers does not necessarily mean like, 20 to 25-year-olds, right? Like there could be people coming out of boot camps or, coming fresh to tech that, don't look like your typical new grads. So I think that's also a very important benefit of a program like this, and of fostering, the new grads coming into and the freshers coming into your org. I think that's excellent. All right, so I want to talk about some sample interview questions that people who are freshly graduated or freshly sprung on the world should know, or some things that are helpful interview questions. Let's see, Evan, do you want to start us off here?
Yeah, I'll start us off. Actually, I can talk a little bit about some of the coding challenges we do for new grads. The exercise my team and I have been using for the last couple of years, I'm really proud of and really excited about. What we basically do is, instead of kind of having more of like a pop quiz style coding challenges, or kind of unrealistic coding challenges where in real life, when you're doing software engineering, you don't have like 4 people standing over your shoulder, like saying like, code now, quick, come up with the answer. That's super unrealistic. It's not super empathetic to the person you're interviewing. And what we've done is actually had the new grad look at some code with us. It's something we fabricated. It's not really part of our code base or anything like that. It's an exercise we've made up, but we've put some really bad errors in it, some more kind of fuzzier, like best practices, kind of debatable pieces, and we just ask the grad to sit there and look at the code with us. We have some pointed questions. We have them talk to us about it, and we get a really good feel for the grads' like relationship with code, their comfortability asking questions, and their ability to also respond to feedback if maybe we might want to challenge one of the things they brought up. And we found that as a really fun and more casual and I think relaxed way to look at some code together than some of the more intense coding interview styles.
Oh yeah, of course. That sounds way less not necessarily scary, but like just kind of, you know what I mean? Like anxiety ridden for no good reason kind of thing. So I think that is absolutely wonderful. Mallory, how about you? What do you think are some good mock interview questions that fresh grads should be thinking about?
Yeah, so one of the questions I typically always ask in the recruiter interview is just walk me through your most challenging technical project. And so that's kind of assessing a few different things. Of course, it's getting to, actual experience. What have you worked on? What have you considered challenging in your technical background? But for us, since we are customer facing, it also helps us determine can you talk to a non-technical person and, explain what you did and why you did it in a succinct way? So that's one of our go-to questions. I mean, for our actual technical interviews, similar to Evan, we they're just very conversational. So you'll get to interview with somebody live, and you'll really just get to talk through things. And again, it might be a similar question of tell me about a previous project, but then they'll kind of throw some curveballs at you and say, well, what would you do if this had happened? Or, what alternatives did your team consider? So those are our technical interviews. Of course, we then always have our more making sure it's a good culture addition and values alignment, and happy to talk through those too. But yeah, the technical interviews are typically just very conversational.
Yeah, actually, just for my own personal curiosity, let's talk about what some of those questions might look like when it comes to culture. That's something we get asked a lot, is like, how do I tell if the company is going to be supportive? Is there anything to look for? The only thing I can tell people is like, the one thing that I've seen be a red flag is we're like a big family here. Run screaming, just run. So, I don't think that that's necessarily still the case. It used to be absolutely like, that was my like, nope, I'm leaving. What do you think that freshers or that new grads should be asking in terms of determining like what the company culture is like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I would ask it in every single interview so that you can get everyone's opinions. I mean, of course, looking at Glassdoor, even asking for additional conversations. Like we offer up just additional coffee chats, so we call them, throughout the interview process. And we also try to do that specifically from a DE&I lens. Like we show the ERGs that we have and everything, so we give them the opportunity to talk with a lot of different people. But I mean, it's just one of those things that I feel like you just have to keep asking the question from different people's perspectives. And yeah, I mean, if they're going to show interest in actually assessing, a values alignment and everything, that's, I would say, a good sign. So one of the interviews we use is, you can actually Google it. It's called top grading. And so it's actually just allowing you to give your life story. And so I do think it's a cool way just to understand everyone's backgrounds and, the different walks of life they come from, and just really allowing all our candidates to tell their individual stories.
Absolutely love to hear it. And please, y'all, I know we've got, different people from the panel chiming in on different questions. So if I'm moving along and you want to make sure we stay, please interrupt me. I'm happy to keep things, to stay slow. And so that way I'm not, cutting people out. Just
I have
FYI.
one question. Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead. Oh, I just have one question I tell people to ask in an interview, to learn about the culture as like an interviewee, is to ask your interviewer who is their favorite person they work with and why. And if their answer is like, oh, this person, because they come in early and they stay late and they work the weekends, like you can decide, is that a company you'd want to work for where that's like their best person? Like if you don't want to work weekends, nights, or early mornings, maybe this is not the right fit for you. Or if you're like really inspired by the fact that people are doing that, then maybe that is a good fit.
That's a good one. I like that. One of mine used to be, what's your employee's favorite thing that you do? Do you have like a cookout in the summer? Is there, like a Cedar Point is a big thing here. It's a roller coaster park. So like, do you have a day that's like a company day at Cedar Point? You know what I mean? Like I try and ask about like, I ask substantive questions first, but it's always kind of my back pocket one of like, what's your employees like favorite thing that y'all do here? Because if their answer is like, we have free parking, that's going to tell you a lot. Now, if it's free parking in Brooklyn, great. If it's free parking in Ohio, no, not even Columbus, y'all. No. All right. We are getting some great questions in from the chat. So we do have questions there. I will try and touch on those where they make sense in our flow here. So please feel free. Keep asking questions, y'all, in the chat. If you've got them, please keep asking. I will make sure we get to them. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about, all right. So do you think that there's a need to do a character check for the university that a prospect graduated from? So Mallory, let's start with you here. Can you talk us through this issue here?
And when you say character check, do you mean like assessing for?
So yeah, so the way the question was written, and if this is y'all's question and I'm not interpreting it correctly, please let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear it. But yeah, like let's see. Basically, I want to talk about the reputation that the Touring Foundation or Touring School has. So when you're looking at, where someone graduated from, do you think that that having the touring school on your resume or on your CV is a benefit, and why?
Got it. Okay. Yes, I do, specifically because we have a relationship and a partnership with them where like our leaders know their name. And typically, I mean, we're coming to them with a pool of candidates that they are going to interview. So because we have a relationship established, like they know the brand name, I think it definitely carries weight. Now, are we going to assess them any differently or easily? I don't know if that was the question. Maybe it wasn't. No, we're not going to change our assessment, just because they come from a certain school or anything. We have to, be fair and equitable and assess everybody equally. But yeah, I mean, as far as just seeing it on a resume and because of the relationship we have, I think it might be more, it might be higher chances that we talk to somebody from there.
I like that. Robin, what can you tell us about, touring's accreditation and all of this?
Yeah, so if I was looking at a bunch of grads from various different boot camps, of course, the interview is going to tell you a lot, especially those technical interviews. But touring school is a bit longer than most boot camps. For 7 months. Some schools are just 12 to 14 weeks, which is not bad, but it just means you're coming out with different skills. We are accredited, and we have a governing body that checks like all of our grads. We have to verify our grads have been working at a company for 30 days before we can consider them employed. We have to report all of our graduation numbers, our dropout numbers, why somebody didn't pass, all of those things we have to provide to a governing body. And not only do we do that with our accrediting body, but we do that with SIR, with the Council of Integrity and Results Reporting, just to double verify our numbers. And if you're a hiring person and you see someone graduated from MIT, the reputation precedes them, right? So if you've never heard of the school before, you could always check out their website, see if you can get a meeting with somebody. I talk to companies all the time that are like, hey, I got several applications from your school. Can you tell me more about your program? And I will send over our curriculum overview. Everything we have is very open source, open and available to the community. And that might be something an employer might want to do if they've never heard of the school.
That's excellent. So just as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, like, is this something that you talk to your new grads about? Like, hey, make sure that, if they have questions, like, yeah, you can check out the school in case you've never heard of it, blah, blah, blah. Or is this something that, might not necessarily be known for the new grads themselves?
Yeah, I think some new grads are like, oh, this company's never heard of touring. How do I talk us up? And then we'll give them resources. Some companies have a couple grads, and so the reputation precedes the students, like Term Scout, like Credera, they just have several of our humans at this point, which is very lovely. And so they don't need to check in. But my job is actually to help the reputation precede the student in companies all across America.
I love that. I think that's excellent. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about how you're preparing these new grads for the world once they actually get into a new org. Now, obviously, everybody wants to work at the most forward-thinking and inclusive, and everything's great, and isn't this just so wonderful? But obviously, not all orgs are built the same, and some are more established or slower to embrace change. How do you teach your new grads to deal with this kind of resistance that they might encounter when it comes to joining an org that might not be quite as forward thinking or want to embrace all of the changes they think might be good?
Yeah, so we do a lot of training on things that might be considered progressive to maybe a more established older company, like making sure your products are accessible for people with a variety of abilities, and weirdly enough, testing seems to be less of a priority for more established companies. And so those are two big priorities in touring the school. And so we try to encourage students to broach the subject to their new employers. We also have a lot of community within Turing. So when a student, or I'm sorry, an alumni who's at a company that's resistant, they can come to our community and say, hey, I work for X company and they're really not interested in accessibility. Does anybody have any tips or tricks for me to bring this up to my boss and explain the importance? And then alumni will help alumni, and it just becomes kind of a great conversation of support. I will say some are more rigid than others, and that might be great for you for a while, and then you might want to move on to a company that, if accessibility is really important to you, then you move on to a company that fulfills that need and that love. But it is possible to infiltrate these more established companies and try to push even smaller changes, is like accessibility and having your calls be recorded so that somebody can watch them later and get notes later, because they can't pay attention to both things. That's something very minimal you can do that a company probably would be at least open to.
Ooh, loving this. Absolutely loving this. Okay. Mallory and Evan, do either of you want to chime in on how you work this when it comes to these new grads?
All I can say from my perspective, I have worked in startups my whole career, and I'm usually on the more end of like excited to have new grads come in and tell us new things we should be doing. So I don't have a lot of experience like having that hard conversation at a larger enterprise or something like that. Just that, advice for any new grads with some interesting ideas is like, I think more often than not, it's like, what's the worst that's going to happen if you bring something up? Hopefully, I think the best that happens is you can really drive change where you are. I think the worst that happens is your idea gets denied, and it's hopefully not the end of the world. I do know, just as managers and people embedded in larger organizations get further and further away from school or boot camps or programs, they can lose touch with what is a more modern practice, and you can be helping them out by telling them how it's done these days. I know it can sound like a scary conversation, but it will probably go okay.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times we've had new people join Power to Fly, especially at a startup. You wear a bunch of different hats and bring all of your weird experiences to bear. And we've had definitely multiple fresh people come in and be like, hey, have you guys used blah, blah, blah before? And I'm like, I never heard of that. And they're like, yeah, here. And now it's the thing that we love to do and has revolutionized stuff. I remember when Slack was that new thing, and we were all like, what? This is the best. So absolutely love that encouragement of ways that you can keep pushing change, even if your org might be a little resistant to it or a little harder to flex. Okay, I want to cover one of the questions that we got from the audience, because it leads really nicely into the question following. So someone had asked this in the chat: when coming out of hiring freezes, how do you, or have you seen companies prioritizing juniors during this phase, and how should juniors navigate that? All right, so if you are preparing new grads for a world where there's not a lot of hiring going on, do you have any, any knowledge or any kind of hard guidelines that you gain for how juniors should be navigating, what might be a very resistant job field, or not seem like a lot of opportunities?
Yes, so we have a career dev team that's been super amazing in getting us resources and understanding of just really everything that's out there. My number one advice is always network. Go to meetups. Even if it's uncomfortable, going to a meetup is actually a really great way to meet people in your community that work in your code base, work in your frameworks. And don't just go once, go several times, and then proceed to have outside of meetup conversations. So maybe send them your resume after and ask if they have any suggestions. Send a project you've been working on, see if they have any suggestions. Contribute to open source. The open source community is actually extremely welcoming, and it is a little terrifying to make commits to open source. I can understand that. But the community is there. They want to help each other out. And there's also tons of networking there. And you most of the time don't have to go anywhere in person, which I know for some people is just not ideal. But networking in all of the possible ways is really going to be your best bet. Of course, applying to jobs and doing all the typical stuff, adding a cover letter to every application you do, even if it's not required, shows you've gone the extra step. Things like that. But really having a human to talk to and continuing the conversation post first contact is going to be your best bet in getting part of a network of humans that want to help you find a job.
I like that. Okay. All right. So Evan, did you want to weigh in on this before we move to our next question? Or Mallory, either one?
Mallory, go ahead.
Okay. Just from a recruiter's perspective, I was also just going to put in a plug for just make sure that you're also utilizing like your social media accounts, LinkedIn. I mean, we as recruiters don't have tons of tools, and LinkedIn, unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, is one of those main tools. So you can even use it as almost like that's your resume. I mean, maybe you don't have to be quite as wordy with like putting your entire resume on LinkedIn, but paring it down a little bit, but making sure you've added, you know, the tech you use, the experiences you've had. It's just going to become much more likely that a recruiter will find you that way. And then if and when they are lifting a hiring freeze and they're open to hiring more junior recruiters, they'll come across you more quickly. Just another nice trick is if you are applying to jobs, just search that company's name in LinkedIn and search recruiter. And a lot of times it'll pull up the recruiters at that company and then ping a couple of them and say, hey, I'm so interested in your opportunity. I've already applied. Like, I wanted to just put a face to the name. I'm so, happy to hear back whenever you get a chance. And that,
I like that.
That's a nice little virtual connection. So
heck yeah. Yeah, I'm loving this advice, y'all. Thank you. Thank you, Mallory, for chiming in there. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about going back to the ideas of like, multiple levels being represented across dev teams. Let's talk about some of the benefits there from having people from senior to mid-level to junior, all part of the same team here. Evan, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, and I think or we've all touched on this a little bit already, and it's really important. I think from my perspective as a manager, building a high functioning team, having people, you might think like, well, if I could afford it, I would just have all seniors. Why wouldn't I do that? They'd all be great. But I really don't think that's the case at all. One, there's a large diversity of tasks that need to be done on a software engineering team, and there may be different people at different levels of seniority that are excited about different kind of work. I think more importantly, you have mid-levels who want to get to senior, and a lot of the you'll have a rubric of like, what does it mean to get to be a senior software engineer? A lot of it is mentoring junior software engineers, mentoring, reviewing code, helping, even helping with hiring and being involved in the interview process. Like, all of these things are super important. And if your mid-level engineers are like, well, I want to get promoted, I want to be the senior, and you're like, well, you need to start mentoring people, and they're like, there's no one here to mentor. Who would I mentor? That's a big problem, right? So you're kind of blocking the progression of your mid-level and seniors if you kind of don't really have that opportunity to mentor, help with hiring, review code, give lunch and learns, give talks. Senior engineers are really smart. They've got lots of ideas, and they want to tell other people about them and teach. Like, that's a way that makes software engineering jobs really fulfilling, and they won't have that opportunity if there's no juniors on the team. And finally, like, not only junior to mid to senior, those kind of promotions want juniors to mentor that senior or even mid who wants to become a manager. They a big step. Sometimes you hear the saying, you have to kind of do the job you want in order to get promoted to it already. Like, that comes with like practicing kind of informal management of like leading a project or doing really direct mentorship, one-on-one mentorship. Those are the kind of things that are like pre-management that, you need juniors on the team to give those other developers those opportunities.
There we go. Lost my mute button. No, I think that sounds it makes a ton of sense. Yeah. Mallory, did you have anything else to add here? Any benefits that we haven't touched on yet?
Honestly, I think I was just going to echo Evan again. It's how we staff our projects. And like Evan said, it just makes sense from like a budgeting standpoint, honestly, but also, again, from a skill standpoint, you need leaders and people who are focused on the architecture, but then you need those people who are hands-on, with the code day in, day out. You need all parts of that team. So we're exactly the same. We have small project teams of around 5 to 7 in size, and majority of those project teams are going to be level 1, so entry level, and level 2s, and then a leader or an architect on the team.
Okay, great. All right. So, Robin, I want to talk to you now. What do you think is most important for job candidates?
So, from what I hear from students, the most important thing when they talk to a company is that they feel like they won't be on an island, especially in the remote world, but it does happen in person as well. That they know who to go to when they have questions, and they don't need hand holding. Someone doesn't need to be next to them at all times, but someone, when a question arises, much like Evan and Mallory have talked about before, about how you really structure mentorship, is it doesn't need to be constant check-ins, but having time to see how they're doing and making sure they're not silently struggling. And on the person's end of the new hires end, they also need to make sure they're vocal and say when they are struggling. But some people deal with imposter syndrome, and they want support when they're feeling that heavy load of, I shouldn't be here, I was hired, but I don't know what I'm doing, and being reassured that that's how all juniors feel, that's how all new grads feel, and you're in a safe space. I think that is the number one thing people are looking for.
Evan, do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I think, the term psychological safety gets used a lot, and just creating an environment where not only do you make it clear that it's okay to talk about anything, ask any question, but also model that yourself.
Yes.
As a leader, and have your more senior team members that a new hire or new grad might be looking up to, have them model that as well.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. And I love your inclusion of that idea of modeling it, because you can say from a leadership perspective as much as you want, like, oh yeah, and you guys should do this, and I want you to behave like this for the new people. But modeling it is really how you drive it home to people that, maybe haven't had a manager that actually walks the walk after they talk the talk. So I think that's lovely. Okay, so we've got about a little under 15 minutes left in today's session. It always goes really quickly. So if you have questions, make sure you ask them before time runs out today. All right, so I want to talk about some more effective ways of reaching potential candidates. So we've talked about social media, we've talked about things like LinkedIn, but when it comes to the student perspective and those internal resources, what do you think are some of the most effective ways people should know about? Mallory, do you want to start us?
Sorry, when you say internal resources,
yeah, so what I'm seeing here, Robin's going to speak to the student perspective, but like when it comes to doing outreach for potential candidates, what do you find are the most effective ways? What should people be focusing on in addition to their LinkedIn?
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, kind of like we've already talked about, obviously, making connections, whether that be in person, which I know those events are somewhat few and far between now, or obviously through social media, LinkedIn and things. Obviously, I guess we haven't quite addressed, like, it's kind of a tough time right now, like the economy and, things going on in the world. So yeah, there are companies on hiring freezes. I mean, we're not on a hiring freeze, but we are on a hiring slowdown. And so just understanding like what companies, what industries are being affected. I mean, sometimes size of companies matter, sometimes larger companies have more flexibility, and other times, they don't, that's a little bit more rigid. So I think just being aware of some of those things, but also just knowing what you're looking for. I think if culture is a huge thing for you, I mean, know the platforms where you can read up on that. I mean, Glassdoor, and there was another one I learned of recently where employees can go on and leave feedback about the company. So just knowing your different platforms. But again, if you're applying to roles frequently, then just trying to make those connections, whether that be online or in person.
Okay, I love this. All right, Evan, what do you think? What are some more effective ways to reach potential candidates?
Yeah, Mallory has talked about this a bit already, but LinkedIn is huge, in my opinion. In terms of just like, don't be afraid to DM people. Like the worst that happens is they ignore it.
Oh God, yes.
Don't be afraid to DM recruiters, hiring managers, the CEO, like of a company you might want to work for. Like just do it. DM venture capitalists like that. Like especially if you're interested in working at startups, venture capitalists, like they want to tell their portfolio companies, hey, like here's this great candidate, and it's almost a position of authority to the startup to have their investors say, hey, check this person out, and so they'll be pretty incentivized to do it. LinkedIn, get active on LinkedIn is probably some of the best advice I have for like a channel. The other one I really like, we're an early stage startup, so keep that in mind. Large enterprises are not going to be on this channel, but AngelList has a job board that is very startup focused. And if you're super excited about startups and particularly have like a compelling way to, express your interest in entrepreneurship or working as a software engineer in a startup, AngelList gives you an opportunity to really express that well. And that's a place to do that.
Oh, I like that. Thank you for that suggestion, Evan. Robin, what about you? What do you think are some effective ways to reach potential candidates? Like things like having your own website with all of your projects on it, having using search firms. What do you think are the best ways to do that outreach?
Yeah, I think working with schools you trust and know is always great. We have an internal portfolio site that we have all of our job searching new grads create a portfolio. A lot of them also create their own personal website, which I think also, adds to their commits and their GitHub and things like that, which is amazing. So they have multiple ways to check out their projects. We also have a way to post jobs to our entire alumni network, some who've been in the industry since 2015. And we're a nonprofit, so we're free to work with. Not all schools charge to hire from their community, some do. So just make sure, if you can pay that. If you can't pay that, you should definitely come to Turing. You should come to Turing either way to hire, but we are free to work with. So just make sure if you are looking at search firms, outside recruiters, check out their fee schedule. Some are really expensive. And there's some great resources out there that are just less costly that you can find great talent on. There's a lot that are specific to D&I or new grads, things like that. And those get hit pretty hard by candidates, which is good for a company looking for candidates.
Excellent. Okay. We only have about 8 minutes left. I'm going to try to get to as many of these questions as we have time for. Let's see here. Okay. This one was actually really popular and a lot of people asked it, similar things in the chat. Do you have any suggestions for success for older people, especially women in tech who might have just graduated from a boot camp? So let's talk about this in terms of, if you are like a career pivoter, basically anybody that doesn't fit the standard college senior, graduate model. Do you have any suggestions for those people to help set themselves up for success? Robin, do you want to start us?
Yeah. So we are mostly career changers. Our average age is 25 to 40, and we do have many folks who are older than 40. So I would just say that it's going to be a lot about marketing your previous career skills and talking about how you can loop those in. We have a lot of ex-teachers and social workers, which obviously you have a lot of experience dealing with high stress environments, dealing with people who are unhappy or in precarious situations. And all of that can be translated to tech coding, especially customer facing software development jobs, similar to what Credera does. Those people who have those experiences can easily transfer them. We have people who are career bartenders up until their, mid-50s who are now trying to get into tech. And there's plenty of things you can brag about in your resume, cover letter. And then again, I do really believe networking is going to be your best friend in this case, because it's easier to explain your past experience, your situation, your drive, your love of coding, whatever it may be, when you're talking to somebody one-on-one or in a small group setting, rather than in a short cover letter that people only read the first couple paragraphs of anyways. So just making sure you can talk to your transferable skills in a way that they relate to your job potential. You're muted, Meg.
Thank you. See, I do this so many days. I fall prey to it as well. Okay, so Evan or Mallory, would either of you like to chime in here when it comes to setting up non-traditional grads for success?
I was just going to say, I completely agree with Robin of, viewing your past experience as a huge benefit. Like the employer that you're going to should view that as definitely a positive versus, any type of negative. So definitely speak to your past experiences, but then also, specifically seek out those companies that make their DE&I initiatives well known, that have ERGs, because those are going to be the companies who are going to support you the best, and you'll likely be most happiest at anyway. So
I like that. We are getting questions in the chat, wondering if cover letters are still a thing. From what I hear, they are absolutely still a thing. And in my experience of sitting through a lot of chats on a lot of the same similar subjects, cover letters are a thing. Get yourself a couple different drafts, like basic, I'm talking like templatized, super basic, and then keep them when you send them out. Like keep like a base like template that you work from, and as you're sending them out to different people, save a copy of, here's what went to Acme Corporation, here's what I sent to, Amazon or something. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel, truly. Like, do not drive yourself crazy writing multiple cover letters. Just don't do it. But, it absolutely is helpful. And completely agree with Robin. There are just bonkers amounts of, I know they're called soft skills, which sounds pejorative, but like there are a crazy amount of soft skills that you gain just from being a person who lives on the planet. So really, like, do not discredit those. Do not, don't take them for granted, and don't think that they're worth nothing. Like, it doesn't matter if you think everybody can multitask. Not everybody can. Tell them that you can. How have you managed multiple schedules for, I don't know, say multiple people that you may or may not have spawned in your house? You're really, really good at task management. So talk about these things, like there's all kinds of wealth of experiences that you have to draw on. So I absolutely love this advice. Robin, Evan, Mallory, we have 3 minutes left. I'm so sorry we've run out of time to ask anything else, anything deeper. But if you have one thing that you want our audience members to not forget when they leave today, what is it? Let's see, Robin, you want to go first?
Sure. That juniors are not a burden to your company, but a benefit. And you should definitely be hiring new grads, because it only helps level up the entire industry as a whole more broadly, and your company more specifically, especially in training those mids and seniors to level up themselves.
Love it, Robin. All right, Evan, how about you? What is your one thing you don't want people to forget when they leave today?
Yeah, for people who are hiring, partner with a bootcamp. Talk to them directly. It's great. Turing's a great one. And for people looking for jobs, again, DM people on LinkedIn. It's like my hiring hack. So just that's a thing to take away.
Love it. Mallory, what about you? What's the one thing people should remember after they leave today?
Yeah, I think I'll go from a candidate perspective. Add keywords to your LinkedIn. Add the tech you use and keywords.
Love it. Okay. That is going to round us out for today. I just want to say, Robin, Evan, and Mallory, thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to spend here with us. It has been absolutely wonderful to get to learn from each of you. I have very much enjoyed today's conversation. And thank you, Robin. Robin just shared her email address as well as her LinkedIn URL in the chat there. So if you want to connect with her. Huge thank you to our audience members as well. Y'all were excellent. I mean, truly great questions in the chat. Really amazing connections being made. And I just really, really appreciate that y'all show up for these events. It's, they don't happen without you, but we are just so, so happy that you take value from these events, because we work really hard on them and have a great time doing them. That is going to round us out for today's event. Now, I just want to highlight for anybody, maybe if you have not been on many Power to Fly events lately, or if this is, Power to Fly is something kind of new for you, we have some great content happening for, that's coming up. So let's see, tomorrow we've got Negotiate Your Next Offer with Confidence, starting at, 1:00 p.m. Eastern. And we've also got another event starting at 3 about owning your story. So it's a journey to mapping journey mapping to achieve your next move. So I hope that y'all will join us for some of those going forward. As we leave today, I just want to make sure that y'all have a happy, healthy, safe rest of your day and week and weekend. And we cannot wait to see you back here on another Power to Fly event soon. Have a nice day, y'all. Bye.